Ladies and gentlemen, imagine looking up at the night sky and seeing not a cold, distant red planet, but a second home for humanity, a world where rivers flow again, where green valleys replace endless dust, and where people walk beneath a sky warm enough to live under without fear. For decades, Mars has represented mystery, ambition, and the future itself. But today, a new question has emerged: how close are we to making Mars warm and livable? This idea once belonged entirely to science fiction, yet modern science has transformed it into a serious discussion. Researchers are studying ways to thicken the Martian atmosphere, trap heat, release greenhouse gases, and even build artificial magnetic shields to protect the planet from deadly solar radiation. The dream is no longer impossible. The real challenge is time, technology, and survival. Mars today is a frozen desert. Temperatures can fall below -100 degrees Celsius. The atmosphere is thin, mostly carbon dioxide, and far too weak for humans to breathe. Water exists mostly as ice beneath the surface. Dust storms can swallow the entire planet for weeks. In its current state, Mars is not a place where human civilization can naturally survive. But what if that changed? Scientists believe Mars may once have had rivers, lakes, and a thicker atmosphere billions of years ago. Something happened, a planetary collapse that stripped away its warmth and protection. The planet slowly transformed into the cold world we see today. Some experts believe that if Mars lost its warmth once, perhaps it can regain it again. One proposal involves releasing trapped carbon dioxide from the Martian poles and underground soil. As greenhouse gases increase, the atmosphere could slowly warm. Ice would melt. Water vapor would rise. More heat would be trapped. In theory, a chain reaction could begin, gradually changing the climate over decades or centuries. Another idea sounds even more extraordinary: placing giant mirrors in space to reflect sunlight onto Mars. Imagine enormous artificial suns warming selected regions of the planet. Others suggest building massive factories that produce engineered greenhouse gases far more powerful than carbon dioxide. Step by step, Mars could become less hostile. Yet, there is a deeper question hidden beneath all this ambition. Should humanity reshape another planet before learning to protect its own? Earth is already struggling with climate change, rising temperatures, pollution, and environmental destruction. Ironically, the same greenhouse effect humanity fears on Earth may become the very tool used to save Mars. This creates a strange contradiction. We are trying to cool one world while attempting to warm another. Still, the dream of Mars continues because it represents hope. Humanity has always moved forward by exploring impossible frontiers. Crossing oceans once seemed unimaginable. Walking on the moon was once considered fantasy. Today, building cities on another planet has entered serious scientific conversation. But even under optimistic predictions, transforming Mars would not happen overnight. It may take generations. The first settlers would likely live inside underground habitats or sealed domes. Advanced technology would create oxygen, recycle water, and grow food artificially. Mars would not instantly become Earth-like. Instead, it would be a slow and dangerous experiment in survival. And perhaps that is what makes this vision so powerful. The idea of a warm, livable Mars is not only about science. It is about the future of civilization. It is about whether humanity can become a species that survives beyond a single planet. It is about resilience, imagination, and the refusal to accept limits. Mars as humanity's second home. The speech explores the idea of transforming Mars from a frozen desert into a warm, livable planet for future human civilization. For generations, humanity has looked toward the stars with curiosity and wonder, but Mars has always stood out as something more than just another planet. It represents the possibility of a second home for human civilization. Unlike distant planets that remain far beyond our reach, Mars is close enough to imagine humans living there one day. Scientists, engineers, and space organizations across the world are already developing technologies that could allow future generations to survive on the red planet. The idea is no longer limited to science fiction movies or fantasy novels. It has become a serious scientific goal. Mars may appear lifeless today, but many researchers believe it once had rivers, lakes, and a warmer atmosphere billions of years ago. This creates hope that the planet could perhaps support life again in the future. The dream is not simply about building a few research stations. It is about creating sustainable cities where people can live, work, raise families, and continue human civilization beyond Earth. Many experts believe becoming a multi-planet species could protect humanity from future disasters on Earth, whether caused by climate change, war, or natural catastrophes. The vision of Mars as a second home symbolizes human ambition, courage, and the endless desire to explore new frontiers. Scientific possibilities of terraforming. It discusses methods scientists are considering, such as releasing greenhouse gases, melting ice caps, building space mirrors, and creating artificial magnetic shields. Scientists around the world are exploring several bold ideas that could one day transform Mars into a more habitable planet. One of the main concepts is terraforming, a process designed to change the environment of Mars so humans could survive there more easily. Since Mars is extremely cold and has a very thin atmosphere, researchers believe the first step would involve warming the planet. Some scientists suggest releasing carbon dioxide trapped beneath the Martian surface and inside its polar ice caps. As greenhouse gases increase in the atmosphere, they could trap more heat and slowly raise the planet's temperature. Another proposed method involves building giant mirrors in space that would reflect sunlight onto Mars, helping warm selected regions. Other researchers believe factories on Mars could produce artificial greenhouse gases, even more powerful than carbon dioxide. There are also ideas about creating an artificial magnetic shield around Mars to protect it from harmful solar radiation and prevent the atmosphere from escaping into space. Although these concepts sound futuristic, they are based on real scientific studies and engineering theories. However, the process would require advanced technology, enormous resources, and many decades of effort. Terraforming Mars remains one of the greatest scientific and engineering challenges humanity has ever imagined. Challenges and harsh reality of Mars. The speech highlights the extreme cold, thin atmosphere, radiation, and dust storms that currently make Mars hostile to human life. Despite all the excitement surrounding Mars, the planet remains one of the harshest environments imaginable for human survival. Mars is an extremely cold world where temperatures can drop far below freezing, especially during long nights and winter seasons. The atmosphere is incredibly thin and contains mostly carbon dioxide, making it impossible for humans to breathe without advanced life support system. Unlike Earth, Mars lacks a strong magnetic field, which means dangerous solar radiation constantly reaches the surface. Prolonged exposure to this radiation could seriously harm human health and make outdoor activity extremely risky. Another major challenge is water availability. Although scientists have discovered ice beneath the Martian surface and near the poles, liquid water does not naturally flow across the planet today. Future settlers would need advanced systems to extract, purify, and recycle water for drinking, farming, and daily survival. Dust storms present another serious problem. Some storms are so massive they can cover the entire planet for weeks, reducing sunlight and damaging equipment. Living on Mars would also place enormous psychological pressure on humans because of isolation, confinement, and distance from Earth. Communication delays and limited resources would make emergencies far more dangerous. These harsh realities show that creating a livable Mars will require extraordinary innovation, patience, and resilience. Connection between Mars and Earth's climate crisis. It reflects on the irony that humans are fighting global warming on Earth while trying to create warming on Mars to make it habitable. One of the most thought-provoking ideas connected to Mars exploration is its relationship with Earth's climate crisis. Humanity is currently struggling with the consequences of global warming, rising sea levels, pollution, and extreme weather caused by greenhouse gases. Scientists and governments on Earth are working hard to reduce carbon emissions and prevent further damage to the environment. Yet at the same time, many researchers discussing the future of Mars are considering ways to intentionally warm another planet using greenhouse gases. This creates a fascinating contradiction that forces humanity to reflect on its relationship with nature and technology. On Earth, excessive warming threatens ecosystems, wildlife, and human societies. On Mars, however, warming the planet could be necessary for survival. Scientists believe increasing heat on Mars might melt ice, release trapped gases, and slowly create a thicker atmosphere capable of supporting human life. The same scientific principles feared on Earth may become useful tools on another world. This comparison also carries an important lesson. If humanity hopes to reshape Mars responsibly, it must first learn how to protect and manage Earth more wisely. Mars exploration reminds us that planets are fragile systems that can change dramatically over time. The challenge is not only about building a future on Mars, but also about understanding how to preserve the world we already call home. Hope, exploration, and humanity's future. The speech emphasizes that the mission to make Mars livable represents human ambition, survival, innovation, and the desire to push beyond impossible limits. The dream of making Mars livable is ultimately about far more than science and technology. It represents humanity's endless desire to explore the unknown and push beyond limits that once seemed impossible. Throughout history, people have crossed oceans, climbed mountains, and explored dangerous frontiers in search of new opportunities and discoveries. Mars has now become the next great frontier, symbolizing hope, courage, and the future of civilization itself. Many scientists believe that becoming a multi-planet species could help ensure humanity's long-term survival. Earth faces many risks, including climate change, natural disasters, resource shortages, and potential global conflicts. Establishing human settlements on another planet could act as a safeguard for future generations. In this way, Mars is not just a destination, it is a symbol of resilience and preparation for the future. The effort to reach and transform Mars also inspires innovation. Technologies developed for space missions often lead to advancements in medicine, communication, engineering, and environmental science that benefit life on Earth. More importantly, the vision of Mars encourages people to dream bigger and think beyond present limitations. Even if the journey takes centuries, the pursuit itself reflects humanity's determination to survive, adapt, and continue exploring the universe. Mars represents the belief that impossible challenges can eventually become reality through imagination, persistence, and unity.